So you may pick up a copy and enjoy it this week. I like our one-off book groups. Anyone can take them. The cool thing is, if you're like, I don't know if I can do like adult formation every Thursday for a whole year, I've got a couple Sunday afternoons a year in which I'd like to participate in a conversation. Then this is for you. This is really a great book. Now I think I'm ready to introduce Dottie. Dottie Bryant is a lettering artist. Not just a calligraphist. She is a lettering artist, and her notes are also beautifully lettered. So she is doing beautiful work all the time. She's a former member of Christ Church. I'm guessing from your list of participating events that you are kind of a Colleen. Gifts and greens. What else? Choir mother. Oh, same. Yep. Antique show, just like Colleen. Oh, all the things. So you were very near and dear to the heart of this church, and we are so excited to bring you back. Mother's Day out, and here's the list, all the things. Now, when I asked Dottie, when did you start all this? What I got from her is she caught the bug for lettering in college, taking all of her notes even in italic. But farther back from that was the time you spent with your father at his drafting table in the basement when you were 3 years old, learning already how to do italic, which makes her a whole lot like one of her teachers, Donald Jackson, the man behind the St. John's Bible. So Dottie, we are so glad to have you here with us so we can dig in a little deeper into how are these letters formed. But I would be remiss if I failed to thank the Rennick family for this great gift of having the St. John's Bible amongst us for this year. Dottie, take it away.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Yes. No? Okay.
You are on. Don't worry. We will. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Because I don't have a clip for this. So I'll just hold it. Thank you, Mother Maureen, for the nice introduction. And it sure is nice to be here at Christ Church again in Grosse Pointe. Grosse Pointe looks great in the springtime. I live in Harbor Springs, and we've had weather, but still wonderful. And I thought I would start not showing you how to do lettering. I thought I would start and tell you about this slide from the Song of Solomon. Doing the lettering, because we're human, we make mistakes. There were very few mistakes made here, and because they're done on vellum, they could be corrected. But when they were all done and people, edit, proofread, they found a couple of other ones. This is so clever how Donald Jackson and Sally Joseph were able to, they left out, I called on God, this. They're using a bee and Leonardo da Vinci's pulley system to put it back in the text. Hooray! I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's so dear to think that they could incorporate all of that. My background in calligraphy started at taking classes at the Stevens Institute in Hoboken, New Jersey. And that is where I met Donald Jackson and Thomas Ingmar. Donald Jackson was the scribe to the Queen. He still runs the Royal Scriptorium in Wales. It's under his direction. He trains people. And in one of the classes that I had with him in italic, he said, the spacing is very important in lettering. He said, remember that the letters want to kiss each other. And it just stuck with me all these years because these lettering artists had to use that all the time. and they had to adjust the letter forms. Sometimes if it was going to go too far into the margin, they'd have to cut back and then add these little fractions of color. Christopher Calderhead, who wrote the book on illuminating the word, and he is the author and editor of the Calligraphy Arts Review magazine, which is the standard in our country, and of course it's sent to other places. So he wrote the book to explain exactly everything that happened in behind. He's also a Society of Scribes teacher in New York, and I've taken a lot of classes through that, and it's all been wonderful. Why do we want to illuminate the Bible? Well, originally the word illuminate was to write using gold, because at that time we didn't have electricity, so it was candlelight or gaslight. So when the scribe was working and they put in the gold would lift off the page, and the gold leaf would be like a little flash of light. The Benedictine monks of St. John's College commissioned this whole project in the 1990s. And their worship is Lectio Divina, which means reading for prayer. They decided we needed a Bible, handwritten again, hadn't been done for 300 years, to Visio Divina, divine seeing, contemplating the word with art, nature, and images. And as you can see, they did it. Donald Jackson and Brother Richard Reinhardt of the Order of St. Benedict wanted to use ancient and modern tools and techniques. It's the first time in 5.5 centuries since the Gutenberg began selling Bibles copies. There is a difference between handwriting and lettering. Lettering is an art form where you study the exemplars. Handwriting is your distinctive way of communicating in a letter, a note on a car, a grocery list. Lettering is different. You study the forms. You don't study the form when you're writing a list for the market, do you? No. In the 9th century, Charlemagne wanted to solidify the Roman Empire. So he decided we all needed a common hand. Just like some countries, they want one English, speak the king's English. It's okay to have other things. But he was ahead of his time in thinking, so I need to do this. As time went by, more and more had to be recorded on less space and smaller skins of calves known as vellum. Calves are taken and they're stretched out, they're dipped in lime, they're stretched out again, they're smooth, and they can't use any skins that have any cuts or too much thinness to them. 15th century, paper became more common enough to use, so more writing materials were available and modifications of the standard, like Roman, Trajan capitals. You have to remember, not everyone was a scribe, and not everyone was a good scribe, so just because it's old, it doesn't mean it's great. But scribes were usually men in the clergy, and later nuns came to this writing business. Rich patrons and parishioners would employ scribes to do their book of hours, which was, if you had a book of hours in your house, you were pretty important. So it reflected that class. But more and more people were beginning to read and see images transformed into words. Often the scribe would just do the lettering with a quill and ink, and they would employ people like a rubricator would fill in with the red ink, and an illuminator would do the gold. And I have let's see if I can walk here with this. This is gold leaf. and this is the fan. You rub this feathery fan on your hair, and you pick up the leaf, and you lay it on a paper or a vellum that's been treated with gesso to accept it. And that's how it works. It's a process, and it's expensive. Yes, oops. I got it. Okay, this shows you exactly the quills. The preferred quill is a goose feather. And see how this one leans this way? I'm right-handed, so I would pick one like this. It has to be cut, and the feathers are all removed. I know we always see a quill that has feathers, but it won't work for you. And most calligraphers are right-handed, so the ones who are left-handed look for the quill that goes their way. And in the scriptorum in Wales, all the tables are, the light comes in from the left to the right for the right-handed. I don't know what they do with the left-handed people, but there are left-handed calligraphers, and they're kind of Colleen Fitzgerald, who works here, is left-handed. So when she's writing, you can see it. When I'm writing, which I'll show you here. You can't see it right away. So when the scribe is writing, notice he's holding down the page of vellum, and he's got his quill there. Here is the scratch pad. To start writing with any kind of a point, and Betsy, could you take, these are a couple of my scratch pads. The capillary action of the flow of the ink starts when you do your scratching. Sometimes it doesn't work, but often, you have to get it started. You can pass those around. One of the things you learn at a calligraphy conference, and often they're held during the summer at universities where people can stay in the dorm rooms, that was more economically reasonable. So, which is kind of fun, but you become friendly with everyone. And I would hear when people were talking that Donald Jackson was cutting quills when he was 3 years old. I mean, he's like the high priestess, and yeah, it's all quite dear. Also, I don't know how well you can see these. There are green lines up here. Well, they don't really show, but the top here is from a computer printout, and this is, so they do these over and over again. Okay. Let's go to the artwork. Here's the Ecclesiastes. Donald Jackson was told he needed to make a presentation of a vortex he decided to use a raven and butterflies. Butterflies are about creation, life and death, metamorphosis. The raven is also a symbol of death, thanks to Edgar Allan Poe. So he included that life goes on, you know, and I think it's quite masterful. Also, anytime in this Bible when you're looking at it and you see silver or gold, silver is the feminine, gold is the masculine. It's quite exciting how they did this, and they use all different forms, and of course they could change lettering styles. And not everything was done with a quill on the artwork. Here, I can pass this quill around too. Thank you, Karen. Okay, and over here we have the genealogy of Christ, which launched the whole project. The 5 lines are a sweep of Jewish history, with Abraham, David, Tamar, and Bathsheba, and Ruth highlighted. The letters, Christ's ancestors, are sprinkled across the page in Hebrew, and the menorah acknowledges the Jewish roots and the Islamic style of candles is in there. So they wanted to include everything in humanity. Okay, here we have the Codex. This is 18th century. What? They printed these? Yes, this is from the book of, yeah. Here's the Uncial, which is very flattened. See that M? And they're all caps. These are all majuscules, known as capitals. See how things are changing? Look at that. Look at that E. And if it's at the end, sometimes they drag that middle bar out. You'll notice in a lot of the work of the Bible, the H's, the A's, the Z's, the G's are often very, very changeable to fill into the script. And here are the versals, which came into use. And often the blank spaces were filled in with color or gold, but they could only be used for emphasis and as capitals. Okay, here we go to Gothic.
Can I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. Do you just use a single quill, or do you have a set of quill points that are different thicknesses and so on?
Yes, you would have to have probably 25 different quills. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Did they wear out? They do wear out. And you have to have a specific kind of cutting tool for them, because you have to cut them sort of on a bevel so the ink can move. And yes, that's why they take them off. Here's the ink sticks they use from, I think most of these were from China. And you're all welcome to come up and look at the tools. And here, gold.
So what's the process of making the ink?
Oh,
Liquid,
with usually with distilled water.
And you put it right on the bar?
Right on the bar, and rub it with a brush, and then you can paint it on. I wish I had a little video on that next time. But the interesting thing about black letter it does take up a lot of space. And the legibility isn't really great when they're all together. It takes time to do that. Oops. Can you still hear me? Lloyd Reynolds of Reed College in Oregon is really the one who started the movement of interest because he taught calligraphy at Reed College. And he would say about the Gothic, the only time people can read it is during Christmas because it was always used on Christmas cards.
What was his time period at Reed?
He was there in the late 50s, 60s, 70s, yeah. And, you know, the liberal movement, and Reed was known for being progressive, yeah.
Portland, Oregon.
And here, the versals, instead of being straight, now we see curves. And this is Gothic with a slant. And here we go to a more of a humanist bookhand. And typewriter. Yes.
You mentioned that to keep the letters on a straight line, they used a green line.
That was in the computer printouts. They would.
In real life, like in ancient times, how did they keep things straight?
Probably with a ruler or, guidelines that they could erase. The one thing about vellum, it's harder to erase a mistake on paper. Vellum is forgiving because you can sand it out. So, and as I said, not everyone was a good scribe. Some things are cattywampus, but because it's old, people think it's great. It's still great, but it's not the. And look at that. Look at those G's and the D's.
It looks Russian or Greek even.
Yeah. And here we go, the slant with the capitals that help a lot with the italic. And here we go to Newland. This is very Teutonic. This is very German. And it's tightly packed and hard to read, but boy, is it effective. And it takes a wide nib. So if you had a quill, you would want one from a big bird, a big goose, or a swan. And there's a round hand. So you can see patterns. Here's italic caps. And it's never good to use italic caps in one word. Don't say January in all caps. Do the first letter, and then it flows. And I think italic is really where you feel that the letters are trying to kiss each other. Okay, now, Donald Jackson was working on this page, and it was 9/11, and he's in England and Wales working, and of course, as we all were, just astounded at what happened on 9/11 in this country. He puts in the Twin Towers. See? I mean, such a sensitive soul, and to keep our friendship with countries, everyone was just crushed. So I also want to talk about this page. All of these were done with rubber stamps, and it's throughout the whole Bible. And then here, the little fascination of using just a little bit of blue, so they're not going into the margins. So this letter had to think ahead. Well, I've got to do that, but if I keep the letters close together trying to kiss, that's not going to work. So they put things in there, and you'll find them all over in this. How many of you have actually had time to look through this Bible? Yeah. And over here, you can see this is more of the italic, the Y. And look at how this word high, with that G dangling, goes outside into the bottom of the page. But it works. It draws your attention to it. And then the contrast between the two. Now, people say, there's an algorithm for this. Well, there really isn't. Machines can measure and formulas can predict, but they can't invent. And that's that's the wonderful thing about lettering and calligraphy. You can do that. And remember, you're not a typewriter, but you can change things. And Thomas Ingemeyer, who I met in Stevens Institute, he said in a lecture once, never do anything which seems ugly to you, even if it's correct academically. You have to trust your own sense of beauty. And I think those are great words to live with. So he printed out, which if some of you would like it. Some thoughts, and I'm going to end with this, and happy to talk more and questions, but he gave this to us. This is very old, and I was allowed to reproduce it. Some thoughts on your work and critiques. It's almost a wonderful way of living. Be open and willing to listen to ideas of other people, any other people you can learn from. Anything that is said, you may not think or see the same way, but at least for one moment, try. So, Kieran, can you pass these out for me? So I'll take any questions now, or if anyone wants to go back and see any of the slides. Yes. He did. Yes. Now, they had other people, because there's screen printing, there's the use of the stamps, there was, oil, there was, people had to lay gesso down for things, so.
Patty, I have a question. Do they make, when I look at the Bible, I'll see like a capital W, and it'll look different in the beginning of one paragraph maybe than another. What are those decisions? What's that about?
Well, they're probably trying to say, hey, there's a change. New paragraph, new idea, new facts, right? But, it's tricky, and sometimes they get it wrong and have to do it over again. Yes? I use mostly like India inks, waterproof inks, or the ink sticks. This is
SCOTUS, is it the same kind of exactness that they used back then, or has it changed?
Oh, it's changed quite a bit. And they used walnut ink. They made ink out of walnut.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was,
Organic stuff, and they had their own composition.
right, right. And often they pounced their work with Saranac pounce, to keep it, so it would stay archival. Yes?
What did you say the vellum was treated with?
It's bathed in lime and,
You said it had a coating
well, they sort of have to take off the coating of the organic matter from the calves. So that's why it's dipped, and then it's stretched very tightly. It's sanded, thank you. It's sanded very well, and there are very few places now that are doing this, and mostly they're in England.
Is the scratch paper vellum or a special kind of paper?
No, they would use, like, I use watercolor paper, something.
Highly what?
Watercolor paper, yeah. And, or scratch paper, sometimes I'm doing this on an airplane, so I just use a, legal pad or something. I have to get the pen to start, It's like when you're swimming and you have to push off, it's the push off for the beginning. Well, it depends what I'm doing. If I'm doing a poster, I'll even do the alphabet, the typewriter. Yes, but.
Do it quotidian or do you do it ABC?
Well, it depends. Like, I've done a lot of wedding invitations, of course, a lot of addressing of envelopes, and it just depends. Like one wedding I did, the theme was chocolate and Cabernet. So we're using, I had to use, I found a great sepia for the chocolate, and the Cabernet I had to make a vermilion. But even on the envelopes, I stamped the envelopes with Cabernet. It took some stamping them out, and we found a stamp that works. So it's a great thing. And right now, I'm also painting, and I'm studying a lot of Cézanne's work with. He learned how to draw by doing watercolor, so I'm kind of looking into that. But my lettering style comes through. I still do those lifts and flourishes. So any other questions? Or you can get up and walk around. I'd like you to look at my materials.
There's some books here, too.
Yes, in the magazine are here. And oh, you're welcome. Thank you.